Again, I'm Kathleen Kirkpatrick. I'm the partnerships organizer at Contest Every Race. We've been working with the Arizona Democratic Party to help recruit folks who are interested in becoming PCs in Arizona. So without further ado, we've got a lot of people on the call. I don't want to take up too much time. I'll briefly introduce my colleagues, Sue Lee and Gracie Fleming and Jacob Horn. Many of you have heard from our colleague Jacob on the end of our texting programs. But without further ado, I'd like to turn things over to Felicia Rodolini.
Thank you, Kathleen. It's great to be on the call tonight and to be able to see everyone. I can't think of a more important election cycle where the precinct committee person is going to be so key to our victories in November. We're very fortunate that in 2018, we built a infrastructure through our legislative districts, through our county infrastructure, and through the coordinated campaigns that got Kyrsten Sinema elected, Katie Hobbs elected, Kathy Hoffman elected, Commissioner Kennedy elected, and we put so many people in our state legislature that we're just about ready to take both the House and the Senate back. So what does it mean to be a precinct committee person? It means that right now you can be touching your neighbors, folks who have just registered to vote, folks who have registered as a Democrat to vote in our presidential primary last March, and those folks need to be talked to. And while we are in a pandemic and while our organizing structure and practices have changed, the virtual organizing that we can do across the state truly does equalize every county, every legislative district. We can be here in Maricopa County and we can be having a virtual phone bank in Greenlee County and town halls like this and engage people in ways that maybe we wouldn't be engaging them if we were walking and going door to door. So I want to encourage all of you to really sign up if you haven't signed up to be a precinct committee person, or if you have, this is the way to get engaged. We in Arizona can actually control our own destiny, maybe more than a lot of states, because we have the benefit of a permanent early voting list. We can make sure every single Arizonan that wants to vote for a new president, whether they're Democrat, Republican, or independent, can sign up for permanent early voting, get on that list so that they will get their ballot in the primary and then again in November, at least 27 to 30 days before the election happens. What that means is that no matter where we are in this pandemic, no matter what chaos we may be going through and what types of issues we have, we will be able to do an informed vote. And so I became a precinct committee person over 20 years ago when Governor Napolitano was governor, and I was involved in making sure she got elected and stayed elected. And I walked my district, back then it was Orangewood, off of 19th Avenue in Glendale, and it was the best thing I'd ever done. I'd lived in that neighborhood for a while, and I met so many Democrats I didn't know that were in the neighborhood. And I met so many people that just wanted to talk about what was going on in politics. And it was the best way to meet like-minded people and to really find a family. And now I've been in Piccadilly precinct for almost pushing 20 years. And it's wonderful to know your neighbors, and it's wonderful to be a resource, and it's wonderful to be a person that folks can go to when they want to get engaged and when they have questions about politics and people running for office, and I can reach out to them and they will get involved as well. So being a precinct committee person is the most grassroots way to change our political landscape and to elect Democrats up and down the ballot. And what I found too is that it really doesn't matter about your political persuasion. The values that we all have are the reasons why Democrats won in 2018, and it's the reason why we're going to win in 2020. It's because our values, our American values, our Arizona values are making sure we have affordable, accessible, quality health care for everyone, making sure we have a great public education system, making sure our Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare is protected for future generations, just like our environment has to be protected for future generations. Infrastructure, jobs, the issues that you and I care about are the issues that our neighbors care about and our precincts care about. And it's an easy way to get engaged, and it's an easy thing to talk about. That's the common ground we all have as Arizonans, and that's the common ground that we can be instrumental in building as a precinct committee person. The Democratic Party, personally, is my family, and we get along great, and we all are different, and we all have our viewpoints, but it's one big family with a huge, huge, huge responsibility, and that's to put a Democrat in the White House, to put Mark Kelly in the US Senate, to change our state legislatures to blue, to put 3 new corporation commissioners in the Corporation Commission and turn the Corporation Commission blue. It's doable. In our lifetimes, I feel like this election cycle gives us the opportunity to be real change agents. And we're here on this call tonight because we're supposed to be on this call, and we're here to make a difference in this election cycle, regardless of the crises and the chaos we find around ourselves. So thank you for joining. Thank you for giving us your time and for learning more about the advantages and the benefits of being a PC.
Thank you so much, Felicia. Very inspirational. Next, we're going to hear from Amber about what being a PC means to her. Take it away, Amber.
Hello, everybody. My name's Amber Rivera. I am the Maricopa County Young Democrats president. It's so great to see so many people on this call. That is so exciting. What being a PC means to me, it's super. My first experience going out and collecting signatures for myself was a really interesting one. I had collected signatures for candidates before and knocked on doors on behalf of candidates, but I had never knocked on a door on behalf of myself. And it was so cool to be able to talk to constituents and have them ask those questions to you, whether it's what are the issues you care about or what are you going to do to increase engagement in your community. And for me, I was able to answer those questions because it was coming from my heart and I knew those answers. And it's an experience I think everyone should get to have. And I took this position as Maricopa County Young Democrats president because it's one of my main goals to get more representation at the precinct committee person level with Young Democrats, making sure that we have that voice within our legislative districts to our local leaders. And as a PC, you really get that in-depth relationship with your legislative district and with your local community. You get to know who the candidates are, who are the countywide candidates, who are the legislative candidates, who are the corporation commission candidates, all the way down the ballot. You're able to really understand the importance of local politics and the importance of being involved in your community. And so I love it. I think representation is very important, and it's the first step you can take to just dip your toes into the political world and see how you like being a community advocate and how you like being that person in your community that people can turn to. And then you can just excel from there and go into party leadership or go into district leadership, whatever you want to do. It's just, there's so many options. And I think a PC is a great way for people to just kind of dip their toes in and learn what local politics is and how I can make a difference within my state. So that's what being a PC means to me. And I'm super excited to be here with all of you guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Amber. It's great to hear from your experience. Next, we're going to hear from Jeannie Lunn about a little bit more about what a PC is and does.
So, hello, everybody. I'm glad you're all here tonight. Thank you so much for taking the time. What a PC is the core of the party. It's a PC is being a precinct committee person is the core equalizer for all of us. All of us here, our first priority is our precinct. Our smallest voting area is a precinct level, and that's what we concentrate on. And we may have taken on different roles within the party, but at the end of the day, we're totally responsible for getting out the Democrats in our neighborhood and getting them to vote. Now, actually in the statutes that our job as precinct committee people is to register Democrats and to help Democrats get out the vote. So it's incredibly important that we understand the Get Out the Vote plan, GOTV, if you're into the lingo, and working with other people, other precinct committee people, to reach the Democrats in your neighborhood, to help Democrats get on the ballot, and then to help your Democrats in your neighborhood vote, because you want to be able to bring to your neighbors the candidates, the information about the candidates, and why they should be voting the full ballot. Now, I will tell you that President Truman said the most important job he ever had was that of a precinct committee person. And I consider it the most important job that I have, because I can give as much as I possibly can. And what that looks like is I can attend meetings, I can go to trainings, I can talk to my neighbors, I can email, I can have gatherings at my house, a small gathering to have people meet candidates. There are so many different ways that I can help the party and help the party grow that it's virtually endless what kind of PC you can be. You can define exactly how you want to be and how you want to help your neighbors.
Mary, it's Sue from Contest Every Race. We're starting to get questions in the question and answer box. Healy specifically asked, can someone speak to the paperwork filing requirements? Will there be an option for electronic signatures and filing for those without printers?
We'll come back to your questions in just a little bit, and I think, you know, as we get through a couple of more brief descriptions, you'll find that we've got some solutions for everyone. Right now, I'd like to introduce Missa to tell us a little bit more about how to become a PC, because that's really at the crux of this, right? I think you're all here. It looks like a few people may have already filed, but we're operating in some pretty uncertain times right now with COVID-19. And we want to make sure that everybody has clear instructions about how to file, how to get involved, and Missa now is going to tell you a bit more.
Thank you so much, Kathleen, for the getting me introduced. My name is Missa Foy. I am one of the vice chairs of the Arizona Democratic Party and a vice chair of Navajo County Democrats. Thanks for you all to be on the call tonight. We really appreciate you being here. This election, PCs are going to be more important than in any other. We're going to have voters from across the state looking to us to find out how to vote by mail and how to make sure their votes get counted. We as PCs are elected officials of the Democratic Party. In a typical year, we would fill out a candidate packet, which includes collecting signatures like Amber was talking about. And however, these times are anything but typical. And in March, the Arizona Democratic Party and our county committees decided that we were going to wait for the write-in process. And the write-in process opened April 7th and closes May 20th, which means that we have until May 20th to complete and submit our forms. The write-in process is very simple. You complete a write-in candidate nomination form. Those forms you will get a link to at the end of this call. We have links for Pima, Maricopa, and Pinal counties on the form you'll be seeing at the end of this call. You'll fill that form out and return it to your recorder's office by May 20th, but we are encouraging everyone to send it in no later than May 13th. We want to make sure they get there in time. If you do not have a printer and would like a form sent to you, I will include my email address in the chat box, and tomorrow I will put your form in the mail to you. Please just include your name and address. I will get those sent out to you. We're doing that all over Navajo, Apache, and Coconino counties for some of the folks who live in some of the more remote areas, and I'm happy to do that. Once you fill out this form and get it sent back in, you will please contact your legislative district or your county committee so that they can get you on their contact list straight away They can give you announcements about what's going on in the next couple of weeks before the May 20th deadline. And we can make sure that you are ready to be a precinct committee member. The one bit of information you may not have before filling out the form that you need is the name of your precinct. You can look up the name of your precinct on your county recorder's websites or on your voter identification card that is listed on there. So please email me if you need a printed form sent to you. I will get it out in the mail first thing tomorrow. I'll put my email address in the chat box right now, and all forms should be sent in no later than May 13th. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Missa. And I know that so many of you have been receiving our text messages that we've been sending out. We'll also be sending you direct links to the forms that you need for your county, and you can always ask questions there as well. So speaking of questions, I wanted to direct all of our participants this evening to the Q&A function here on our webinar. It should be near the bottom of your screen. If you're on the phone, you may not be able to access that quite as easily depending on your app. But we'll try to make a point to include you here at the very end of the session. But for those of you that are on your PCs or on your phones that you can access the Q&A, please have a look at the Q&A pane, and you'll see a little thumbs up. You can click on that to help thumbs up and elevate a particular question that you also have. So we encourage you, all 143 of you, to please have a look at the Q&A pane and see if there maybe is someone else who's already answered or already asked, excuse me, that has already asked the question that you have too. And then you can give that a thumbs up, and it'll move that question to the very top of the list. So while some of you are typing in some of your questions, we also want to hear from Lupe, who can tell you a little bit more about what being a PC means to him. He's the affirmative action moderator for the Arizona Democratic Party.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lupe Conchas. I'm the affirmative action moderator for the Arizona Democratic Party, in charge of creating a very diverse and inclusive organization. And a little bit about me. So I started getting involved with the Arizona Democrats and volunteering back in 2008. And that's because my father lost his job due to the Arizona housing crisis and had to go seek work in another state. He would come and visit us back and forth and visit us for holidays. And one time for Christmas in 2008, that's when our entire lives changed, because I found out my father was the only undocumented person in our family. And so he was driving to visit us for Christmas, and he was stopped by Highway Patrol, eventually sent over to Immigrations and Customs, and then eventually deported out of the country. So I remember the devastation that we had, me and my mother sitting at our table, not really knowing what we were going to do. I was going into my senior year, getting ready to be the first person to graduate in high school in my family. So my mom decided that she was going to go and take my brothers and sisters 36 hours south, and I was going to stay. I was homeless, and I lived in my car for 3 weeks, and I was still going to school until I confided in a friend about my situation. And that's when I was called into volunteering and called into activism with the Obama campaign. And so I started making phone calls through my computer from home, making calls to people in Ohio and Illinois, battleground states for President Obama. In 2010, I helped Terry Goddard and Felicia Rodolini in their statewide elections. 2012, helped Raul Grijalva and Obama's reelection. 2014, helped Fred Duvall, David Garcia, and Terry Goddard. In 2016, helped here in my legislative district 30 with Tony Navarrete, who became the state house representatives, and he won by 42 votes. So it's really important to understand that the power of organizing and the power of bringing people in your community is super important, especially when we get people who share our values and who look like us in order to be in those positions. So I was empowered to become a precinct committee person when somebody invited me and kind of sat me down and talked to me about what the process was, what was a PC. Everyone kept saying PC, PC, PC. I was like, what is a PC? So somebody actually told me, you know, it's a precinct committee person, this and that. And so I was able to be appointed and then eventually be elected in 2018. for my precinct. My precinct is predominantly Latino, predominantly low income, and in my legislative district 30, there are over 50 languages that are spoken. And so it's important for me to be a part of the party structure in order to deliver the messages and the values that we're and the strategies that we have on the statewide level, on the countywide level, to my neighborhood in particular. And so my neighborhood is on 35th Avenue in Thomas. And so that's in the heart of Central Phoenix. So I really encourage everyone to reach out to your neighbors, reach out to people in your social circles, reach out to young people, people with disabilities, veterans, people of color, women, to join the Arizona Democratic Party, because we are the party that cares, and we're the party that is going to win in 2020 because we have the best values, we have the best message, and we have the best people. So I look forward to increasing our base and setting a record number for the amount of PCs that we have elected in 2020. Thank you.
Thank you, Lupe. So we've got lots and lots of questions rolling in. Thank you so much for participating. Quick reminder, please type your questions into the Q&A, and we will actually be collecting the responses from our panelists and others and typing those into the answered section, so you can check that as well. So let's go ahead and kick off the Q&A here. I'm gonna start my video so I'm back on screen. Hi, everybody. Mary Darling from the Arizona Democratic Party is gonna help us with the responses to our questions. So I'm gonna start with the one that's at the top of the list from Cecilia. How do I know if there are other candidates running for my PC position?
Excellent question, Kathleen, and hi everyone. It's Mary and I'm here in Nogales. And thank you really, again, I'll echo everyone for jumping on this call tonight. Very grateful for that. Perhaps at this point, the best way is to contact the county party chair and or the legislative district chair that you are affiliated with, and we can provide that link to contact all of them at the end or in the chat box, whatever is the best way. We can also follow up on the email with the way to contact those individuals. Well, I'm one of those. I'm a Santa Cruz County chair as well. So we can tell you that information. If we don't have the answer readily at hand, we're happy to get that information for you.
Great. Once again, keep an eye out for answers in the Q&A pane, which you can find by mousing over the little Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen. All right, our next question is, how many PCs are elected out of those who file?
Interesting question. So let me give an example, and then I perhaps can try to answer it in a different way. I live in Precinct 1 in Santa Cruz County, and based on the allotment that is for Precinct 1, we are entitled to have 4 Democratic Party Precinct Committee people. Currently, I know of myself and 1 other person, and we have 2 openings right now. However, we will have 4 openings because I too need to complete either a petition form or a write-in form. And we have 4 positions that are open, and every county, every precinct has a different allotment number, and that number is calculated by the county elections department or the county clerk. And generally speaking, statewide, the number of precinct committee people allotted is publicly available information on the county website.
Yes.
Okay, so in a nutshell, there are a specific number of positions that are allotted for each precinct. So the answer is it depends. Get to know your local party officials, and it sounds like Amber has another comment here. Thanks, Amber.
Yes, of course. So in Maricopa County, because I live in Maricopa County, so I just know Maricopa County. But on the Maricopa County Recorder's website, there is if you toggle over to the precinct committee person tab, there's a whole Excel document that has every single precinct in Maricopa County listed out with the number of PC positions that are filled and the number that are open. And I'm telling you, almost every single precinct, there's room open. So definitely fill out that PC form and don't be afraid that you won't get the position, because it'll be contested, because the odds of that happening are very, very low. There's a very small amount of legislative districts that actually have all their precincts filled.
That is
So it sounds
absolutely
like
correct.
the odds are good. If you want to run for PC, you jump in, get involved.
Absolutely.
Okay, any more thoughts on that, or shall we move to the next question? Okay, so
Next is fine.
yep. So there's a question about the mail-in ballot. Somebody wants to know if they can put something on their Facebook page to get more people to vote by mail.
Can I go ahead and answer this one? So definitely that would be great for you to go ahead and put some information about voting by mail. One thing that I did to kind of change it up in 2018 is that a lot of these positions go uncontested. For example, we have roughly around 3,000 PCs. There's probably about 11,000 positions open total. So there's a lot that are unfilled. But what I did in 2018, in order to raise awareness of what I was doing, I actually ran it like it was an election. So I created a flyer. I said, I'm running for Madrid precinct. And then just letting people would ask me, what are you running for? What are you running for? And I said, I'm running for precinct committee person. And then I told them, you can also do it too. If after the election, if there are still spots open, then the legislative district committee chairperson can then appoint people into those unfilled spaces. So if you, for example, have a precinct where there's 5 openings and only you and maybe somebody who lives in your home files write-in or submits signatures, then there's probably going to be 3 spots open. And so if there's anybody else when you're doing voter contact, you can say, hey, we have 3 spots open, come to our monthly meeting, get to know about what we're doing, and then they could have an opportunity to be appointed to fill those 3 additional seats.
That's a great overview, Lupe. Thank you. We have another question here that's related to the write-in process. Someone asked, once approved as a write-in candidate, how will voters be notified to write us in if we're not showing on the ballot? Are only voters in my precinct able to vote for me?
Can I ask that Missa, let me ask Missa to answer that question if she would.
Okay, so I live up in Navajo County. It's a little bit different structure than some of the other counties, but per our elections office, the way and with other elections offices, the way it works is if your precinct does not fill, you will be automatically elected. So as Lupe was saying, if there's a precinct with 5 spots and only 3 people put in the paperwork, the 3 of you are automatically elected to be precinct committee members. You don't need to actually have anyone write you in on the ballot. You're automatically elected. And if it is a contested election, then yes, folks in your precinct will be able to vote for you. However, as Amber touched on and as Lupe touched on, it is extraordinarily unlikely. If you put in your paperwork, you are nearly guaranteed a PC position.
And typically, the county recorder will have a list on the website of every single write-in candidate for every single position. So it'll say U.S. Senate write-in it'll say all write-in candidates to choose from that have submitted their paperwork. If there's anybody for U.S. Senate that's a write-in candidate, anybody for state legislature that's a write-in candidate, you will also be put on that list as a write-in candidate option.
That's great. Thank you all. I mean, this is really a great discussion. Another really timely question here that I'm seeing several things related to, so maybe we can roll this up into one. One of the reasons that we've wound up with the write-in process is because of COVID-19 and stay-home orders. Obviously, we don't want people to be out collecting signatures from people they don't know or are unfamiliar with when there might be an opportunity to catch a virus, for instance. So there's a lot going on with the write-in process. This is not necessarily a new process, but it's unfamiliar to so many. So we've also had some questions about, how are we supposed to do this when there's a threat of coronavirus? And how can we actually, campaign or get out in our areas and recruit people to vote for us in these times?
So that feels like a bunch of compound questions on that as well. Amber, did you want to answer?
Yeah, I would love to. So first, wait, so yeah, that was a lot of questions. So that's what I'm trying to like.
Can I just let me preface something first. So in the really big picture, there are 3 ways to become a precinct committee person. One is an elected. The way that it's phrased is an elected. I have a petition, I get signatures, I walk, I collect signatures, I turn it in along with a statement. That's one way. The second way is a write-in process using one form. I complete the write-in form, I myself, and I turn it in directly. No signatures involved, no danger involved. The third way is what Lupe was referring to, and that's the appointed process. Now, this is kind of in the weeds, and I don't want to stay there. We are past the signature collection part. For a precinct committee person, we are past that. The deadline was April 6th. We are past that process. We are literally in the middle of the write-in process to become a PC, which the deadline is May 20th. So literally, I will, true confessions, I have a write-in form, I complete it, I turn it into the county elections department. I am now part of a candidate pool for precinct committee people. That is the process we are in now. So with that, back over to Amber.
Yes, and then how you can campaign during this time. So as a PC, your duty at that point, once you fill out your write-in form, is to connect with your legislative district chair. And you do that once you figure out what precinct you're in, you'll know what legislative district you're in. And every legislative district has a website of some sort where you can connect with them. At that point, you'll figure out what your legislative district is doing. And at this point, right now, a lot of people are doing digital things. And so how can you help them out digitally? How can you help the candidates out in a digital way? Are they doing town halls? Are they doing their meetings digitally? You'll still be able to fulfill your duties as a precinct committee person. We're all kind of moving with the times, because I think everyone has never lived in a time like this before. So we're being very innovative. So it's the perfect time to become a PC, because your ideas, everyone's open to hearing them, because everyone's trying new things right now. So it's the best time to join. And if you think, during COVID, it is more difficult to campaign, but we can also look at it on the other end as this is a great opportunity to try some awesome new things that we might not have gotten the chance to try before. But now, like Felicia said at the beginning, we can connect with voters across the state right here sitting in my little office that I've made because of COVID. Like, we can connect with voters all across the state, and that's super exciting. And so as a PC, we can be reaching out to voters in our communities in a very easy way, just by picking up the phone to let them know to hop on to these different things that our legislative districts doing to help them continue to campaign through this coronavirus.
Thank you so much, Amber. We've had several questions relating to the sort of daily work or weekly work associated with being a PC and what that entails. So I'm hoping that maybe one of you who is or has been a PC can speak to that. It looks like Jeannie.
Perfect. Yeah. I was going to suggest Jeannie. Thank you.
So a day in the life of a PC. A day in the life, let's look at an average month, because I know some of you are in law enforcement, and one of my good friends who's a PC in the precinct next door to me is a firefighter. And so his schedule changes all the time. And when he first became a PC, he was concerned it was going to take too much of his time. Well, not only does he have time for his family and his work, he has time to be the fundraising committee chair on for our legislative district, because me personally, as a precinct committee person, I go to my monthly meeting, which is one night a month. I read my monthly email. I usually talk to my voters 4 times a year, and that takes me just a couple weeks. So a couple weeks out of the year where I'm canvassing and talking to my neighbors. And other than that, I get to choose what other Democratic Party events I want to be involved with. I was fortunate enough to be elected to what's called our state committee. So I get to attend state committee meetings, which are totally optional, which occur 3 times a year. So that's an additional commitment that I made that you don't have to make. Now, as party parliamentarian, I do go to a couple more meetings, and I do a couple more things for the party, but I get to decide how much time it is. So there's no set. I can't tell you, you're going to be spending 4.2 hours a week on this position. This is an unpaid, elected position where you can make your own hours, be your own boss, and it's one of the most fulfilling jobs that I know I've ever had. My parents were PCs. I'm proud to be a PC in the Jackrabbit precinct.
And I would love to add, you can make the PC position whatever you want. Like, just like Jeannie said, like, you can be a PC that puts in 20 hours a week, or you can be a PC that puts in 5 hours a week. Like, you get to decide. Like, Jeannie has taken that position and she's in party leadership and doing an amazing job. And you can do that too. You can have your voice heard. But I think the most important thing, like day in the life of a PC, you get to have a voice. You get to have a voice in what happens in your district. You get to have a voice in what happens at the state committee level if you decide to do so. Set the direction of the party, get a voice in where the party's going, candidates. And so it's just super exciting to be able to actually feel like, I'm really representing my democracy, and you get to do whatever you want with the PC position, but there's so much you can do with it.
And if I could, for those of us out there that have read the book Becoming by former First Lady Michelle Obama, I would highly recommend that you go back to the book and find pages 33 to 34, super short reading, but she describes in very good accuracy the role of a PC as performed by her father. It is an outstanding example on the power that we have as a PC. And it's wonderful. It's a wonderful short read, and it reinforces everything I thought being this position would be. Highly recommend it. Page 33 and 34, let alone the rest of the book, but page 33 to 34.
That's a great recommendation. I mean, I think it might be helpful for some of our participants to understand how many voters there are in a particular precinct versus the scale of different geographies or territories, if you will, within. Someone asked about what's the difference between a precinct and a legislative district, for instance.
Lupe, how about yourself?
Yeah, so it's a precinct. A legislative district is made up of a number of precincts, and so if you think about it, when some people still do in-person voting, which we want everyone to do mail-in voting, but some people do mail-in voting. And if you think about when you go to your polling place, those people that go to your polling place is a small amount of people in your neighborhood, and that's typically who your precinct people are, who the people are in your precinct. So it could be anywhere from 200 Democrats to 500 Democrats, or even less, depending on how many registered Democrats are in that voting precinct. A legislative district, the entire state of Arizona is divided into 30 legislative districts, and then of that, there's in Maricopa County probably like a few hundred voting precincts. I think over 500, between 500 and 1,000, maybe more. So I don't know if that answers the question.
Yep, I think that's a great start, Lupe. Thank you. We've also got some questions related to what sort of relationship there is between the precinct committee persons and the Arizona Democratic Party. How does that information flow for communicating with voters?
So precinct committee people in every county or LD are part of a larger group. So they're part of the legislative district committee or part of the county committee. To the earlier points, we meet, we may discuss action plans, we may talk about events, virtual and otherwise, we may talk about get out the vote plans, we may talk about recruitment of volunteers. So there's the involvement with the meetings. The precinct committee people are also able to be, and I think it was referenced by Jeannie, to be elected as state committee members. And that is the ticket to being able to attend meetings, but also to be involved in committees at the state level, such as the Affirmative Action Committee, or the Election Integrity Committee, or the Education Committee. There's also the caucuses that we have that are Latinx, African American, the AAPI, and the tribal communities have caucuses that advocate on behalf of those communities with the state party and making changes within the state party and out in the community. We also have councils that are represented various constituency groups. So we may have elected PCs that become elected state committee members that are part of these committees to advocate on behalf of labor or the environment and the climate crisis. We have a council that's advocating on seniors issues. So there's this variety of ways to advocate and make change in the party at that level. We also have the platform committee and the bylaws committee, which the bylaws basically manage the state party and through policies and procedures. So it's a really good way to affect change internally within the party by becoming a PC and then by becoming a state committee member. I hope that helped.
Thank you, Mary. I think that answered a range of questions as well. We've had a few questions about how to determine or confirm what precinct you're in. We will be sharing a document at the end of our webinar where you can go to a link and find out more about that information. So no worries, we got you covered so you can confirm what precinct you're in and what positions are available. Did anyone else want to contribute some suggestions about that? Felicia, it looked like you were about to say something.
So I just wanted to add on the last answer to the last question is that I started out as a precinct committee person, and I felt like my best value when I first got started was walking my neighborhood and getting to know my neighbors and getting to know the Democrats and find out how I could get them involved and do the things to promote engagement with the party. And then it became clear to me that the legislative district meetings every month was a great way to get involved with the legislative districts. And then you get invited and you find out about walking the neighborhoods together, or and as we get closer to the elections, if we're still working virtually, this will be phone banking and texting programs and town halls like this, where you can set stuff up with folks in your legislative district and also your precincts. Getting folks to vote and getting folks to sign up for permanent early voting list is really one of our biggest organizing tools right now. And so that would be one of the areas where if you became a precinct committee person right now, you'd probably have very, very many opportunities daily to get involved with what's happening across the state with not only our legislative districts, but also with some of the groups that you get to know through networking and through meeting with other legislative districts. It's the way to get involved and to just, as to Mary's point and everybody's point, you have an opportunity to get elected to be on the state committee meeting, which is the governing body of the Democratic Party, is the best way for me to describe it. You have a vote on platforms, on resolutions, you can join caucuses, and you can join a variety of things that will take you to meetings across the state, even meetings in other states. And right now, the precinct committee people are voting for our delegates for the Democratic National Convention. And folks you can run for those delegate positions as well. So the sky's the limit, to Amber's point, on what you can do and how much you can get involved. And the biggest difference that you can make is really up to you.
That's great. We've had some inquiries about support for those who may have disabilities, and my colleague Gracie is going to include some information in the Q&A about some organizations that actually provide specific guidance for folks with disabilities who are interested in running for office. But Mary, I thought this might be an opportunity for you to speak a little bit about what the party's initiatives are to support folks, and we want everybody to be included, right?
Yes. Well, we are the Democratic Party, and I'm going to bow over to Lupe in a moment. So everyone is welcome within the party, and there's always been, as long as I've been working with the party, there's been concern about folks with disabilities. And I think what we tend to forget is that disabilities affect everyone, all of us. And we all may have a disability that's either that's something that's visible or invisible, and something we may share or not share. We find ways to involve and include everyone who wants to be involved and included. We worked in 2016 very focused to bring in the U of A to help with some of our offices, for example, in Tucson, to ensure that they were accessible for anyone needing to be in the office or working in the office. We work with folks that have various types of disabilities to figure out how we can accommodate those disabilities and doing the organizing work that needs to get done. So I think we find a way and we manage through that. There is no reason no one that is a Democrat cannot be a Democratic Party precinct committee person. Not at all. And to Kathleen's point, we're happy to work with people. We're happy to work with accommodating disabilities. We've used a lot of educational materials out in the counties and with the legislative districts to help educate folks on what we can do. Lupe, did you want to add to that?
I just wanted to add that we have a really great disability caucus. And so that's a way for people with disabilities to kind of connect with others. And really, the Disability Caucus has helped improve the Arizona Democratic Party by submitting resolutions of support or resolutions on different policies that advocate for the disabled community across Arizona, but also within the precinct committee people and the state committee people who show up to our meetings. So it's a really good avenue to get involved. And if there's something that needs to be accommodated, then that needs to be communicated to the party leadership, because we want to make sure that everyone is getting every type of accommodation necessary. And so I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you, Lupe.
Great, thank you so much. We've only got about 10 minutes left, so I wanted to maybe move through the process a little bit to some of our questions about what happens once you file. How do you get elected, and how to, once again, how to make sure that voters understand how to vote for you as a write-in candidate.
I'm going to toss the question over to Jeannie, because I think she can answer those questions.
How to get elected and what happens next. So you've submitted you're going to print or receive from Melissa your paperwork. You're going to print it out, fill it out, send it back into your county recorder. From there, you will be, if there's no other, if there are vacancies for your precinct, then you will automatically be elected to the position, and you'll be notified after the primary. So after the August 4th primary, you'll get a notification that you've been elected as a precinct committee person by your county recorder. If you go to your county recorder site and see that the precinct is full and you need to run a write-in campaign, well, then your name will appear. You just need to go and contact voters in your precinct. First of all, the fellow Democrats who live in your house, and contacting your neighbors who may be Democrats. And I'm not quite sure. I'd really recommend at this point, once you submit your paperwork, you reach out to your Democratic chair, either your legislative district chair or your county chair, because they can really help you with the process, because everyone is different and every situation is a little bit unique. So if you do have a situation where you are going to be a write-in candidate, they can help you with that. We have ways. One of the great things about being a precinct committee person, being a part of the Democratic Party, being an elected official for this 2-year term, we can have access to the voter file. And so that's how we can identify voters in our neighborhoods. And so you can only access that through your local leadership. And so this is how important it is to really contact your district level leadership and your county leadership, so that you can, once your paperwork's submitted, you can move forward in the process.
Thank you, Jeannie. And just to piggyback once again, we have 15 counties. We have 30 legislative districts. The significant majority of the legislative districts have committees. They have a chair. We will get everyone who's been on this call the contact information. Really reach out to those county chairs and legislative district chairs. They can help they can walk through being a PC in their particular legislative district or particular county. Because to Mrs. point, Navajo County is certainly not Yuma County and is certainly not Maricopa County. Maricopa County is not Cochise County. Our counties are very unique, and the chairs can help walk through that process, and they can also help walk through how to submit the paperwork to become a write-in PC. They can help you liaise with your county recorder, your county elections department, and honestly, it sounds hard, but it's not. That's why we really want you and us to reach out to these chairs, because they can be very helpful to walk through this process.
Yep. Get in touch with your county chairs, get to know them. Don't wait until you get elected as a PC to get involved with the Democratic Party in Arizona. Your local folks will be able to steer you in the right direction and help you with everything from completing forms to identifying voters. We've had one question from someone who's also running for another elected position, which happens to be nonpartisan. Are there any conflicts there?
The answer to that is no. There are no conflicts to that. You can run for a nonpartisan position and run as a precinct committee person.
So good news, Cecilia. It's not a conflict to talk to people as you're running for a PC and also running for an elected nonpartisan position. So here's one that I think we've touched on, but maybe not as succinctly as possible. Who elects PCs?
The voters in your precinct elect PCs. That's the short and simple answer.
Yep.
The
So,
Democrats,
yeah.
just to be sure, not the
And-
independents or
Yes.
the Republicans.
Your Democratic Party voters in your precinct. So the ones in precinct 1, my Democratic Party friends in my precinct are the ones that elect me.
That's actually really important to point out, is that every political party that's recognized in Arizona has precinct committee people. So you may run into somebody that's also running for precinct committee person, but you may not ask you may forget to ask them which party they're running for. So make sure if you run into anybody else, you ask which party they're running for.
Great info. And so once again, the document that we'll share at the end of the webinar will include the contact information for your county chairs. You can also always go to the party website. Mary, you want to share?
www.countyparties.org. Please go visit the website. In the drop-down menu talking about, you will find the County Parties tab. Click on County Parties and it will give you all 15 counties. And you can click on each of those counties and the contact details are there. And we'll put that website inside of the chat box as well.
And you can always just text right back to Jacob that you've been hearing from in our text messages and say, help me find my county chair, and your county chair can help get you in touch with your legislative district chairs as well. We'll get that information to you. So lots of avenues. The questions don't need to stop tonight. We do only have about 3 minutes left. So I'm going to take a quick scan here, but I'm wondering if Felicia, if you had any closing thoughts.
Of course. This is amazing. I saw at one point up to 140 some participants, and it makes me so excited to know there are so many people who are engaged and want to be involved. I think all of the questions are fantastic. And just let me say that we at the party are going to do a video. I saw that suggestion in the chat as well, is that we have done videos in the past, but we do need to create a video that can be launched on social media sites, on Facebook sites, that encourages people to sign up to be a write-in candidate for being a precinct committee person, because that's really what we need to do through the election cycle, is have all of our write-in candidates ready to go.
I think we might be experiencing some technical difficulties. So I know we may not have gotten to every single question. We've tried to group some of your questions to make sure that we get them broadly answered. Again, feel free to reach out again via text. You'll also see a document at the end of the call here as you exit, and we can share that information with you in a variety of ways. Reach out to your local county chairs, get involved, and ask lots of questions. We thank so many of you for being here tonight. And Lupe, you had one more thing to say. Yes.
Yeah, just real quick. So in terms of my position for affirmative action moderator, it's getting a diverse set of people to the table, the decision-making table. So if there are people in the Latino community and any people of color community, veterans, women, disability, my email is affirmativeaction@azdem.org, affirmativeaction@azdem.org. And so you can learn more about the caucus spaces and the way that, and connect to the leaders and the people in those caucuses. So whether or not you become a PC, you can still be involved in those caucus spaces if you're a Democrat.
Great, thank you, Lupe. So unfortunately, I think we may have lost the connection with Felicia. So Mary, I'm gonna ask you to close us out here, wrap things up.
I want to reiterate how grateful we are to Contest Every Race for helping. I want to thank you to everyone who jumped on the call tonight from all parts of Arizona. I want to say thank you to the panelists for being able to jump on this call. Even in the midst of our current COVID-19 crisis, we are finding all sorts of amazing community organizing happening across the state and across the country. We can and we will, by everyone working together, do what needs to be done on November 3rd. We ask all of you to consider joining us, and please stay well and stay healthy. Thank you.